Good morning, students. So today we are going to talk about the importance of your textbooks. Oh, the cursed textbook that costs $1 million per book, right? Especially when it's a math book, a science book, like a history book. Um, uh, yeah, anything in the tech ed area and in the math and sciences, the STEM, right? STEM areas, those all have textbooks and they're all fairly expensive. If you're going into things like psychology or human services, there are textbooks in those areas as well. They're usually not near as expensive as a good old fashioned history book or a math book. But and nowadays, what you're also hearing about is something that's called online educational resources, which are free, depending on your college or university that you go to, on whether or not your instructors use those kinds of materials. They're supposed to be, when your instructors are using those kinds of materials that are fully online and that are free, they're supposed to be selecting academic level material. Um, The key word is supposed, keywords supposed to. So if they do, but as a student, if they don't, but it's still free material, you're all jumping for joy, right? However, here's the deal. If you're going to be taking a class such as a science class or a math class, math may be even more particular, your teachers, if they're going to assign you homework and they're going to grade that homework in any form, even if that's all they do is grade it by you turning it in, then you're going to need the textbook to be able to do the assignments. So whether or not you buy the textbook new, buy the textbook used, or find a way to rent the book, which I'm not sure is much cheaper than buying the book, then you're going to need to get a hold of the textbook. But more particularly, who I'm going to talk to are those of you who are in programs where you already know that this is your major and this is going to be a field that you're going to pursue and going to turn into your career. And in that case, you actually do want the textbooks. So, and this is in programs like social work, right? Psychology, um, any type of community and human services. And then also when you're going into the sciences, you may want to get these textbooks and then hold on to them because what you really want is you're going to build your own professional library. So for myself, my main career has been, other than teaching, has been sign language and interpreting. And so I have a room that is completely dedicated to, I call it my sign language room. It's all professional materials. It's books, it's videos, it's DVDs, it's other materials. I know I'm old, which is why I'm talking about VHS and DVDs and books. Um, but I've had these things for years because every now and then I've got to refer back to them for my profession. Even when the books get old, they still often will have material in them that's relevant to you. And so when you have a major that you know what the major is, if your instructor is pleading with you to get the textbook and maybe they're making it required, it's a good idea to get those textbooks and it's a really good idea to hold on to those textbooks. Don't be selling them back at the end of the semester. You want those textbooks and you want to keep them. I know, I completely understand that it's a lot of money, but when you're going into a particular field of study, you're going to want those. And so one thing, and just FYI, if you're at a associate degree level, so let's say you're at a community college and you're studying like alcohol and drug studies programs, you want those books. And then let's say that you decide to go into a bachelor's degree program where you decide you are interested in community and human services. Those alcohol and drug studies books that you own will be useful to you in more than one of your classes when you're writing papers. You're going to have already resources that if you utilize them well in your program, you're going to be able to reutilize in your bachelor's level program. And then let's say that you decide you want to go on to a master's degree and maybe you want to get a master's in social work. You're going to use those textbooks from your AA, Alcohol and Drug Studies program. You're going to use those textbooks from your Community and Human Services program at the bachelor's degree level in your master's degree level. And that will actually be true if you decide to pursue a doctorate of some sort as well in those areas. So I'm just telling you, it's a great idea to get the textbooks in the areas where you already know that that's going to be your field of study and possibly turn into your career. And when you're actually out in the workforce, you may end up referring back to those textbooks again, because sometimes the material in there, like, yeah, that's how I should approach that situation. Or maybe you remember, like in the case of community services or social work, drug studies programs, etc., they'll have case studies, and you're going to look at those and remember them and utilize those skills and maybe the information from them when you're dealing with your own cases. So get the textbooks, utilize them well for your classes. Another reason why you might want to get textbooks, by the way, is if you are pursuing something where you need to have good grades. So many students will say, well, I can pass the class without the textbook. That actually may be true. I have to say there are courses that while the textbook might be suggested or required, if you don't get the textbook, you can still pass the class. It's a great idea to have those books for ensuring that you get a good grade. So it depends. If you only need to pass the class, pass the class. If you need to get good grades, have those textbooks so that you can incorporate them well into the various papers that you're going to write, into the various exams that you're going to take. You're going to want those textbooks. So textbooks are good for those who have a field of study and a major that they know for sure they're going to go into and a possible adjoining career. Get those books and hold on to them. Don't sell them back. And then for those of you who are going for A's, because maybe you need A's to get into that master's degree program or some doctorate level program, because they only take people who have 4.0 grade point averages. If you need those good grades, you need those textbooks. All right. Otherwise, I wish you well in your studies without having anything to read. With that all said, leave comments below. If you have questions about anything that I am talking about, feel free to type those in. If you want to start a discussion with your peers, right, who are all watching the video, type those comments below. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And for now, class dismissed.